Crossing the world of courtyards filled with birds and obtaining a reward system for catching birds. Coming to this courtyard, things will naturally not be less. After understanding the current situation, Li Youwei submitted directly to the system in order to receive rewards. Further cooperation has been reached with the country. At the beginning, was it a stick joke to steal a chicken? Sorry. The police intervened and not only took away the chicken thief stick meme, but also arrested the foolish pillar who stole national property. Of course, Damao, who forced his fellow villagers to give local specialties, did not let go either. 3 beasts are housed in the prison. The sky in the courtyard has collapsed. And Li Youwei also received the reward as he wished, and further cooperated with the Prime Minister. Afterwards. Police officers are closely monitoring the animals one by one. I made a slight mistake. Grab. Not long. Looking at the empty courtyard. Li Youwei hugged his wife and smiled. Feilu novel network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 001. Submit the system to the country. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The winter of 1965. Location, Beijing. Having just experienced 2 years of natural disasters, the impact on this side of the capital is also significant. It is not difficult to see from the crowd passing by on the street that most of them are not covered in clothes and lack sufficient food. Even worse, she wrapped herself in a cotton jacket and just wanted to go home and lie down quickly. This way, you can save more energy and eat less food. This is the current situation of most people in this era. Li Youwei, who was mixed up in the crowd, was also like this. Ah, how did you travel to this world so well? Thinking about it, Li Youwei lit a cigarette. The cheapest one. He is not from this world. Just 1 day ago, Li Youwei traveled across the country. Not only did I enter this prosperous era, but I also entered a world called the love-concealing courtyard. No, it should be said that the birds were hiding from the courtyard house. As the saying goes, those few who go to that station will not have fewer stories. Like most travelers, Li Youwei didn't live well in the courtyard. His parents died at work, and he inherited a room in the courtyard and a few hundred yuan in savings. Plus the pension, the deposit is just over 800, right? In theory, finding a job can make a living. However, once you arrive at this courtyard, you won't be able to live a peaceful life. The Jia family took a liking to Li Youwei's house. This is not. My predecessor disagreed and was ostracized by a large courtyard. Get it? This is the only way to do it. Li Youwei looked at this gate. The final decision was to walk in. He came here for one thing. Be honest with the country. He has a system. That's right. After 2 days of careful consideration, Li Youwei decided to confess everything to the country. Firstly, he wants to avoid dealing with animals. Are you tired of being calculated all day? Secondly, he is not from this world either. Who knows if he will be exposed over time? Of course. Another important point is that Li Youwei activated a system. Bird-catching reward system. As the name suggests, it is a system that rewards animals by sending them to prison. I've been thinking for a long time. Li Youwei doesn't even know how to obtain the reward. After all, you report it once, twice. The beasts have entered, and then what? Facing their crazy revenge again. Life is still not peaceful. Regarding this, Li Youwei's risky move in chess came up with this idea. Since it's not feasible on our own side, why not seek cooperation from other countries? After all, my innate conditions are quite sufficient. Are you familiar with the plot of the courtyard house? Whether it's the deaf old lady locking the door, the stick thief, or the Jia Zhang family dancing god Damao engages in promiscuous relationships between men and women. Anything can be sent to the animals. It doesn't matter how long you stay, what's important is that you can receive rewards yourself. So, Li Youwei has arrived here. A small courtyard with soldiers guarding the entrance, who could tell from outside that this was the residence of the Prime Minister of China at this time. 2 soldiers saw Li Youwei. He saluted and said, "Comrade, you cannot enter here." When speaking, the gun in my hand was already pinched in my hand. If Li Youwei makes a reckless move in the next second, he might be beaten into a hornet's nest. Li Youwei hurriedly said, "Hello comrade, I know this. I was invited by the Prime Minister. This is an introduction letter, take a look." Oh. A hint of surprise flashed in the eyes of the 2 soldiers. Looking at the young man in front of me, he should be 18 or 19 years old, right? Can we get an audience with the Prime Minister? Unbelievable. Taking over the letter of introduction, a soldier glanced at Li Youwei and said, "There's no problem with the letter of introduction. I'll inform the Prime Minister, please wait here for a moment." Okay. Li Youwei nodded, then took a step back and stood on the side in a proper manner. Not a few minutes. Li Youwei received the report that he could enter. Led by a soldier personally. Entered this courtyard. Li Youwei looked around and realized that this was just an ordinary courtyard. There were 4 rooms in total, and Li Youwei arrived at a room that seemed to be a study. The soldier knocked on the door and said, "Prime Minister, Li Youwei is here." Sigh. "Let's come in." "Yes. Please come in." Li especially thanked and pushed open the door. What catches the eye is a very simple study. There are some books on the bookshelf, about a dozen in size, and other configurations include an additional table and a chair. Next to the table is a middle-aged man writing vigorously. Seeing that the Prime Minister was busy, Li Youwei did not speak, but stood quietly on the side. About 10 minutes have passed. The Prime Minister then raised his head and said, "It's you who wrote me 10 letters a day." The Prime Minister's every move carries a hint of authority. The smile is so kind again. Li Youwei said, "It's me. There is something very important that needs to be seen with you, Prime Minister. As a last resort, we can only use this method." Haha. The Prime Minister put down his pen and nodded. "Interesting guy." The Prime Minister said, "I see it now. If you have anything, just let me know and I'll listen." Li Youwei nodded. Then his face became serious and he said, "Prime Minister, what I'm going to say next may go beyond your understanding. But please believe me, and I'm not crazy either. All I can guarantee is that every word is absolutely true. Okay, as long as it's not a fantasy, I think I have a strong ability to accept it." Li Youwei unconsciously swallowed a mouthful of water. What about this matter? He is more exaggerated than any other fantasy. Organized some language, Li Youwei tried his best to express what had happened to him in the simplest language possible. Li Youwei spoke up and said, "Prime Minister, I am not from this world. I come from China more than 60 years later. Get it?" The first sentence made the Prime Minister scratch off his chair and stand up. He still couldn't resist Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 002. Preliminary Cooperation with the Prime Minister. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Are you sure you're not joking with me? Li Youwei was not surprised by the Prime Minister's reaction. No matter who listens to this kind of thing, the first reaction is definitely impossible. Li Youwei continued, "Prime Minister, please believe every word I say next. This is likely to affect the future direction of China. Yes, I have traveled to this world, arrived in this world, and even carried something called a system with me. Simply put, it's like a golden finger, a cheat. Looking at the Prime Minister's bewildered expression, Li Youwei explained in simpler words. Anyway, completing a certain task will earn you a reward. Well, the rewards are still quite good, maybe there's also our future technology. After Li Youwei finished speaking, the office was filled with tranquility. The Prime Minister lit a cigarette on his own. I took a few strong puffs and waited for the cigarette to burn to my finger before the Prime Minister threw it away. The Prime Minister said, "This is really unbelievable." Li Youwei. I know you still have some doubts, but I have a way to prove it. The Prime Minister's eyes lit up. Although he couldn't understand what Li Youwei was saying. However, if you follow Li Youwei's instructions, you have completed the task and received a reward. That is enough to prove that what Li Youwei said is true. The most crucial thing is, the future technology. Think about the current situation in China, where there are internal and external challenges, and restrictions everywhere. It's hard not to be tempted by such an opportunity now. You say. Li Youwei thought for a moment and said, "This world is a familiar one to me. The courtyard I am currently living in. Yi Zhonghai, an old man with a dignified appearance, is in the courtyard, he forms cliques. Qin Huairu, he Yuzhu, and there's also a guy named Su Damao. A stick meme." After briefly explaining the situation of the courtyard house, the Prime Minister's face turned unusually ugly. Can people's hearts still be so evil? Li Youwei smiled without speaking. Actually, what animals do there's even more disgusting. However, that was the later plot that Li Youwei did not mention. Yes. The current situation in the courtyard where I am located is like this. The task assigned by my system is to capture these animals. According to my understanding, the more times you catch and lock, the better the reward. Prime Minister. I understand that. But prove to me what you said. Li Youwei said, "Prime Minister, don't worry yet. As far as I know, a series of things will happen in the courtyard today. For example, when Su Damao's chicken was lost, it was stolen by Bang Gung, and Silly Zhu, the cook named He Yuzhu, took half of the chicken from the cafeteria of the steel rolling mill. As for the chickens from Su Damao's family, they don't come from the right way. They are a trap for the people when they go to the countryside to play movies. Pop." Upon hearing these words, the Prime Minister patted the table. "We are currently in a difficult period, and everyone is working hard for the construction of Xinhua. And these black sheep are still thinking about fighting in the den. Don't even talk about internal conflicts, pit the masses, and bring public belongings without authorization. There are also petty thieves. Is this the people of Xinhua? If everyone is like them, let's talk about building a new China. Sooner or later, let these pests nibble on us. Let's not talk about the task for now. If what you said is true, we will definitely not let it go easily." Li Youwei smiled and said, "This is the best way." The Prime Minister said again, "How should I cooperate with you?" Li Youwei said, "It's simple. You can have a few police officers come to our compound in the afternoon. If there is evidence, just arrest the person and leave. Once I complete the task, the reward will be sent to you immediately." Okay. After Li Youwei explained some details to the Prime Minister, respectfully left the foot of this imperial city. As soon as Li Youwei left, the Prime Minister in the back called and informed the people under his command. A team of police officers is ready. Just wait for the Prime Minister's order. According to the agreed time, Li Youwei returned to the courtyard. He returned to the courtyard with a roasted chicken after not eating for a whole day. Eat and drink, let Li Youwei, a modern person, eat bran and swallow vegetables. He really can't stand it. For example, the mantou with noodles is often favored by many people. Li Youwei really choked up after eating it. Moreover, if this system is submitted, will the future be worse? Just humming a little tune and thinking about it. A shout interrupted Li Youwei's train of thought. Oh! Li Youwei, today is a time for meat and fish. Turn your head and take a look. At this moment, Yan Bugui was looking at the roasted chicken in Li Youwei's hand with two bright eyes. And took the opportunity to make a swallowing motion. Get it? The yen abacus in the courtyard, the one-hand abacus played in the courtyard is called a resounding sound. In addition, due to living in the front yard, whoever brought back the good things they ordered today cannot escape Yan Bugui's eyes. And Li Youwei, being alone in the courtyard, without any relatives or connections, has become a subject of calculation for many animals before. Yan Bugui in front of me has not underestimated Li Youwei. Li Youwei gave a faint smile and said, I haven't tasted any meat or fish in a few days. Oh, what a coincidence, my. I didn't wait for Yan Bugui to finish speaking. Li Youwei interrupted and said, I'll go back and taste the meat and fish after a hard time. I won't talk to you anymore. Goodbye, third master. Li Youwei turned his head and left before Yan Bugui could play. Hey! Yan Bugui behind him muttered discontentedly. Arrived at the courtyard. Li Youwei walked straight towards his own house. Behind a glass, a pair of eyes saw Li Youwei's return and even greedily licked his lips. This bastard has finally come back. Huiru, hurry up with me and call Silly Zhu. Whatever you say today, bring his Li Youwei's house to our house. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 003. A few people stand at a time, and things are inevitable. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A person without a father or mother, with a house and savings at home. Can a person who is usually known for being an honest person not be remembered in a courtyard house? Pifu is innocent and harbors a guilty conscience. The savings of Li Youwei's family, as well as the largest house in this courtyard, have made many people envious. And the Jia family is also one of them. Watching a few children grow up, I must think about the future for my precious grandson. This is not. I set my sights on Li Youwei's house. Qin Huiru nodded on the side and said, Okay, Mom, I'll go call Silly Pillar right now. Jia Zhang nodded with a smile and said, Tell Silly Zhu that no matter what today, he must hand over the house to Li Youwei. Got it. Watching Li Youwei open the door and carry the roasted chicken inside. Jia Zhang sneered a few times and said, A little kid is fighting me, Over here. After Li Youwei returned home, he took out a plate and a pair of chopsticks. It's been a long time since I've been exposed to any oil or water. This stomach is really greedy. Looking at the roasted chicken in front of me with all its colors, aroma, and taste, I was just about to start. Dong dong. The unpleasant knocking on the door rang out the next second. Sigh. Is this not over yet? Li Youwei opened the door for the past. 3 familiar faces appeared in front of Li Youwei. What are you doing here? Li Youwei doesn't have a good airway. Silly Zhu chuckled and said, Yo, you had a good meal today. I heard you've eaten all the roasted chicken. Is this for calculating food? Li Youwei. What do you care about? Silly Zhu casually waved his hand and said, Okay, I don't care what you eat or not. Just tell me when I'll sell the house to Aunt Jiao. Li Youwei. I thought it was just a calculation, but I didn't expect it. The shamelessness of the beasts is simply beyond Li Youwei's understanding. Did you even calculate your mind on the room? Ambition is not small. Li Youwei laughed angrily. He remembers it. The Jia family and Silly Zhu came knocking on their door a few days ago. What do you mean to buy his house for 50 yuan? 50 yuan. Buying a house. Animals really dare to think. Then Li Youwei definitely can't agree. Well, Silly Zhu Jia and Zhang's family haven't given up yet and have come knocking on their door again. I said, is there something wrong with you? 50 yuan. So, silly Zhu, I'll give you 50 yuan and you'll sell me your house. Silly Zhu was momentarily speechless, but then he came up with the old cliché and said, hey. Our courtyard is only as big as Li Youwei's house, and Qin Jia has many family members, making life difficult. Can you stop being so unsympathetic? Oh. Li Youwei frowned and said, no, Yi Zhonghai's life is not better than mine. Why don't you ask him to exchange it? Silly pillar. In just a few words, silly Zhu won't even know a word that Li Youwei said. Speaking has never been his forte. But as soon as he thought of the words he promised Qin Jia with unwavering assurance. Silly Zhu's confidence immediately came up, and he couldn't say anything to embarrass Qin Jia. Silly Zhu couldn't resist, but as soon as he clenched his fist, he said, I said Li Youwei. Don't offer a toast, refuse to eat, and be fined. Are you going to take action? I can. Silly Zhu is still giving a tough talk session. Li Youwei went up in a lap. If you want to do something, do it yourself, don't leave any marks. Dong. Silly Zhu, who didn't react, was suddenly punched on the bridge of his nose by Li Youwei. Ah! The silly pillar in front of him covered his nose and let out a scream. Everyone says what silly pillar is, the god of war in the courtyard. Li Youwei, who knows the situation, just wants to laugh. What quadrangle war god is it? That's just a cook who has enough food and some strength. In this era, everyone is worried about having a full meal. How could they have so much strength to fight all day long? Coincidentally, Li Youwei is also the one who can eat enough. With a height of 1.8 meters and a weight of 140 pounds, it is also a symbol of human growth. Just be a little honest, otherwise, do you really think you're afraid of him being foolish? Funny. Silly Zhu covered his nose and took a few steps back. Qin Huairu quickly helped the screamed silly pillar. Pillar. Are you okay? Li Youwei. How could you move your hand? Come to the pillar, let me take a look. Qin Huairu supported the silly pillar with concern. Silly Zhu slowly lifted his hand and a puddle of nosebleed appeared in his palm. Qin Huairu quickly helped silly Zhu pinch his nose and supported him with one hand. The two of them are very, very close at this moment. He foolishly licked Qin Huairu for so long, this is the first time he has received such concern from Qin Jia. On Qin's body so fragrant, so soft, silly Zhu's mood this time is both happy and painful. Getting punched doesn't seem like a bad thing, does it? Silly Zhu hurriedly said, Qin Jia, I'm fine. It's all because Li Youwei, this bastard, didn't speak of martial arts and attacked me secretly. In a 1.1 conversation, can I make him succeed? Silly Zhu stood up touching his nose. Li Youwei. Li Youwei hugged his arm and said, if you still want to come and try, I'm free. Li Youwei just looked down at Silly Zhu from a high position. Silly Zhu's height of about 1.7 meters is really not impressive for Li Youwei. Silly pillar. In fact, the latter is also afraid in their hearts. Why did Li become so bold? He was originally trying to scare me. However, we have reached this point now. In front of my beloved Qin sister, even Silly Zhu cannot say no. Okay, Li Youwei, you have a temper. But you hit me, don't think this matter can be solved so easily. Silly Zhu just finished speaking. A ghostly cry came from the backyard. First grandpa, second grandpa, third grandpa. Come on. My house has been robbed, the courtyard has been robbed. Hey. With the sound of Su Damao, Silly Zhu felt a sense of joy in his heart. Okay. I am foolish and have no choice but to take care of you. Is there anything I can do about you, young man? Silly Zhu hurriedly said, okay, there's an accident in the backyard now. I'm too lazy to argue with you, kid. Do you dare to go to the backyard with me and have an old man evaluate later? Li Youwei smiled. Isn't this the beginning of the plot of the stick meme stealing chickens? This is a great play, even if he doesn't mention it, Li Youwei will go and see it. Let's just leave, who's afraid of who? Okay. Silly Zhu glared at Li Youwei. Arriving at the master's place, you will suffer soon. Humph. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 004. Police Detachment, Siheyuan Chaos. You are listening at novel full.audio. In this way, it can make Li Youwei suffer losses. What a great thing it is to be able to regain face on my own. He didn't believe it anymore, even the old man spoke up. Can Li Youwei still flip the waves? Qin's family will definitely be satisfied with the house by then. In Silly Zhu's impression, an old man is in the courtyard, which is the existence of a god. If an old man takes action, there is nothing that won't work. Silly Zhu. Okay, I won't argue with you now. You'll have to deal with it later, kid. Upon hearing this, Li Youwei smiled. Yi Zhonghai. Let's take care of yourself later. Get out of the way. I'm going to lock the door. Li Youwei bypassed the silly pillar directly. Lock your own house. Where there are animals, you must be twice as careful. Silly pillar was pushed aside. Watching Li Youwei lock the door and then fly away. Watching the latter's arrogant attitude. Silly Zhu clenched his fists several times. It wasn't until Li Youwei had walked away that Silly Zhu said. Qin Jie, don't worry, I'll say a few words to an old man later, and he'll definitely make Li Youwei feel overwhelmed. Qin Huairu smiled slightly. In this era, her pretty face showed a smile. This scene is truly a scene of turmoil in the mind of the foolish pillar. Qin Huairu said, thank you, Zhu Zhu. Because of my family's situation, you were punched by Li Youwei. I feel strange and uncomfortable in my heart. I'm really sorry. Hee 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 hee. Silly pillar scratched his head and laughed foolishly. It's okay to take one bite at a time. Even if there was a piercing pain coming from the bridge of the nose, Silly Zhu didn't care at all. This is the charm of language. In just a few sentences, the latter surrendered a group of people arrived at the backyard. When Li Youwei arrived, the entrance of Su Damao's house in the backyard was already filled with onlookers. Many people have come. Among them are the three handles of the courtyard, Yi Zhonghai, Lu Haizhong, and Yan Bugui. As for the old fox in the backyard, the deaf old lady seems to have not come. After all, it's not a big deal either. This old guy rarely shows up on such matters. Su Damao. What are you shouting about? Our courtyard has been a model courtyard for 3 years, how could there be a thief? Yi Zhonghai asked head on. The bangs behind are also unwilling to be outdone. With his hands behind his back and a towering appearance, he put on a vice-official demeanor. Yeah. Damao. You can't talk nonsense. If our courtyard loses the model award this time because of you, you will be responsible for it. Su Damao had a black line in the crowd. The daughter.in.law next to her, Lu Xiaoa, said, hey, we can still talk nonsense or something. Look, there are still 2 chickens in my house in the morning. When I slept for a while and woke up at noon, there was only 1 left. This is not being stolen. What's going on? Li Youwei stood aside, lit a cigarette, and looked completely amused. However, his gaze still occasionally turned towards the outside of the courtyard. Police, when will you come? On the other side. Silly Zhu arrived at Yi Zhonghai while everyone was speaking. Whispered a few words to Yi Zhonghai. Yi Zhonghai's gaze turned towards Li Youwei. And whispered to Silly Zhu, don't worry, what kind of storm can Li Youwei stir up? A master will definitely make the decision for you today. I not only want his house, but also want him to lose money. Ha ha ha. Upon hearing this, Silly Zhu was overjoyed. With Yi Zhonghai's words, Silly Zhu is more at ease than taking a calming pill. Okay, Grandpa, you must make the decision for me. Don't worry, I'll handle Su Damao's matter for you once we're done. Get it? Later, Silly Zhu stumbled over to Qin Huai's Ru Jia Zhang family. Talking with a flushed face. Several gazes also turned towards Li Youwei. Li Youwei. A disaster is approaching, these guys are still thinking about their own house. TSK. After a few sighs in his heart, Li Youwei squeezed into the crowd again. His task is to just watch the excitement and get it done. Then it's about getting rewards. The plot is still that one. Pulling the chicken from the silly pillar's house, it was pulled in. Silly Zhu blushed and argued with Su Damao with a thick neck. In the end, Silly Zhu couldn't claim to have taken the chicken from the steel rolling mill just to prove his innocence, could he? That way, things will get bigger. And even a foolish pillar is not foolish. It can be seen that it should have been stolen by Qin Jie's family meme. To take the blame for the stick meme, he is foolish and willing. Yi Zhonghai coughed twice and reached out his hand to show calmness. Yi Zhonghai didn't want to escalate the situation, so he made up his mind and said, "All right, just follow what I said." Silly Zhu took Su Damao's chicken. Su Damao. Alas, it's stealing. Yi Zhonghai glared angrily. Su Damao could only shut up. In that case, just compensate 5 yuan. Do you have any objections, Su Damao? Su Damao pursed his lips and nodded unwillingly. He actually wants to send stupid Zhu to prison. But is it possible? Who made 2 elderly people stand behind them? It's already good to get a small discount. It has to be said that Su Damao still has a clear understanding in this regard. Okay, that's it then. Silly pillar, take the money. The words have just finished. The noisy footsteps came from the courtyard. The crowd was attracted by this movement and turned their heads to look in the direction of the courtyard. Li Youwei breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, it's here. Immediately after, more than 10 police officers wearing white uniforms walked in. The leader is a captain with a real guy on his waist. Why are you gathering so many people? With full confidence, he questioned the crowd. Everyone in the courtyard, look at me, I look at you, instinctively retreating. Finally, Yi Zhonghai stood up and said, "Comrade Public Security, we lost a chicken in our courtyard. So that's why we gathered together to help find the chicken. Why are you here?" Everyone looked towards the police. Who called the police because of the chicken incident, right? Yi Zhonghai also felt a murmur in his heart. That bastard called the police while he wasn't paying attention. If this really goes to the police, the situation with stupid Zhu, it's obviously not easy to solve it this way. Yi Zhonghai gave everyone a glance. Suggest not to speak recklessly before not knowing the situation. P.S. First of all, the author of Little Poker Street wishes all readers a happy new year. I started working before the end of this year. I'm looking for some tips, and it's not an exaggeration to give feedback. Hehe, I'm begging everyone to be big. It's really important for new books. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 005. Silly Pillar first wears a silver bracelet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Zhonghai definitely doesn't want things to get bigger. It's not a small matter to lose a chicken in this era. Moreover, if we really catch the silly pillar inside, isn't that like losing watermelons and picking up sesame seeds? Yi Zhonghai let out a heavy sigh in his heart. It was that dog Day who called the police. Yi Zhonghai gritted his teeth fiercely. Who are you? Said the leading police officer with a bad voice. Yi Zhonghai hurriedly said, I am the master of this courtyard, and I am responsible for all the matters of this courtyard, big and small. Comrade Public Security, just let me know if you have anything to do. The leading captain knows clearly what he is doing this time. Why are you blindly participating in a collaboration with an old man? The police officer said, it's none of your business, go on the side. Yi Zhonghai. In front of everyone, Yi Zhonghai closed the door. Public security comrades. The captain glared at Yi Zhonghai. Yi Zhonghai then nodded, bowed, and retreated to the side. While feeling uncomfortable in my heart, I also vaguely felt something was wrong. What's wrong with my eyelids jumping all the time? Are you really here to steal a chicken? Not so much, right? Yi Zhonghai stepped aside and decided to take a look at the situation first. Over here. The public security comrade scanned around and said, it happens that everyone in your courtyard is here. That's called stick meme. That's Hiyuju. There's also someone named Su Damao coming out. The first called Stick scratched its head and looked at Jia Zhang. As a child, there is a natural fear of the police. Jia Zhang hugged her precious grandson and said, Comrade Public Security, my family's meme is still a child. Just tell me if you have anything to do. The leading captain looked at Jia Zhang and then at the stick meme, saying, it's okay, it's the same to anyone. Your grandson, Bang Ji, is suspected of theft and the amount is huge. Come with us later. Oh. As soon as these words were spoken, the quadrangle immediately erupted in an uproar. One by one, their eyes widened and they looked at the innocent-looking meme. Only a few people I secretly rejoice in my heart. Okay. This meme has finally suffered. In the courtyard, who doesn't know the virtues of the stick meme? In this era of food scarcity, who hasn't been visited by stick memes? Even if you catch the current situation, come knocking on your door to demand an explanation. I still have to be scolded half to death by Jia Zhang. Their original words are, what can children understand? What do you, an adult, argue with children about? Get it? Knowing that Jia Zhang is not easy to provoke, everyone can only give up. The matter has been abandoned, but what about the suffocation in my heart? This is not. Now the public security has arrived, and they have directly named the stick meme. Many people's hearts, that's called a comfort. TSK. The East Window incident has happened, you're used to being a stick meme. Normal, how did Jia Zhang know how to educate children? Some people whispered, good news, finally someone can cure the stick meme. When I was a child, I didn't care about teaching. I don't know what big things would happen in the future. Just. A small circle of people were whispering. Jia Zhang's triangular eyes were also as wide as copper bells. How could it be? Don't falsely accuse my grandson, he said in a sharp voice, pushy. In the bustling crowd, Li Youwei let out a sneer. Looking at Jia Zhang, Li Youwei shook his head. It's really funny. If the police have all come, it means there must be evidence. Are you still falsely accused? Thanks to Jia Zhang's ability to come up with it. Evidence. Li Youwei had already informed the public security about the cement pipeline next to the steel rolling mill. The ironclad fact is that even if Jia Zhang continues to stir up trouble, there is no way she can do it this time. The police said, we have the evidence. Are your grandson familiar with the cement pipes in the steel rolling mill? As far as I know, Su Damao's chicken was stolen by your grandson. You fart. Public security. Comrade, please pay attention to your words and actions. Jia Zhang was so scared that she swallowed a mouthful of water. The arrogance in the courtyard has become commonplace, but after meeting the police, this problem has not been corrected for a while. Jia Zhang quickly apologized to her grandson. No, comrade public security. What I mean is there any misunderstanding here? After all, Silly Zhu has already admitted that the chicken was taken by him. Before you came, Silly Zhu planned to lose money. If you don't believe me, ask Silly Zhu. Silly pillar. Silly Zhu's face turned black. Didn't you make yourself admit to being a thief in front of the police? If it's in the courtyard, it doesn't matter. But this is in front of the police. Some words are not worth talking about. Looking at Jia Zhang's gaze, Silly Zhu was in a dilemma. Until Qin Huairu looked pitifully over. Get it? A defensive line of the silly pillar was broken directly. No one can withstand the expression of Qin Huairu. Silly Zhu gritted his teeth and stomped his feet, saying, Comrade public security, I stole the chicken, it has nothing to do with the stick meme. Silly Zhu took all the responsibility directly. Jia Zhang quickly smiled and said, Look, comrade public security. The leading captain was clearly infuriated. I just made people laugh and angry. He hasn't explained his own affairs clearly yet, so he's in such a hurry to take responsibility for others. The leading police officer said, Your matter has not been explained clearly yet. Comrade He Youwei, you are suspected of stealing public property, and we have evidence in our possession. The half of the chicken stewed in your house is from the steel rolling mill, isn't it? What? Ah. The silly pillar standing next to him felt a thud in his heart. Cry it's done. Comrade public security, I. Click click click. There was no chance to explain to Silly Zhu at all. A silver handcuff was directly put on the silly pillar. Yi Zhonghai, who was standing on the side, was completely brainless. And the vast majority of people in the courtyard are like this. Isn't the police here to catch memes and steal chickens? Why is this still? Did you handcuff the silly pillar first? P.S. Everyone, there is no data for the new book. I beg everyone to give me some flower evaluation votes. The author is here to kneel and thank everyone. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 006. Damn it, even the quadrangle is about to be captured. You are listening at novel full.audio. Everyone else is okay. The most panicked one is Yi Zhonghai standing on the side. Did Silly Zhu get caught? This is too unbelievable. Silly Zhu has been working as a cook in a steel rolling mill for many years, and this is the first time this situation has occurred. It's not that I didn't bring things for my family before. Why did you come to the police this time? If Silly Zhu is taken away, the consequences are unimaginable for Yi Zhonghai. After Jia Dongxiu, Yi Zhonghai has placed all his hopes on Silly Zhu alone. I finally cultivated the silly pillar. If you're caught, why don't you just go back to before liberation overnight? Standing on the ground, Yi Zhonghai felt a chill in his heart. Methods. Where did the method come from? Despite being warned several times by the police captain, Zhonghai cannot stand idly by this time. Hurriedly stood up and said, Comrade public security, there must be a misunderstanding here. The pillar has been working diligently for many years. The leaders in the factory have a good relationship with the pillars. This half chicken. I'm not sure they know. There is no way. We can only talk to the leaders of the steel rolling mill first. Oh. Director Li knows. Do you know why there is still this report letter? After the police pulled out the report letter with Director Li's signature, Yi Zhonghai felt his small head shrink for a while. At this moment, he wants to shout out loud. What the hell is going on here? Can it be that the foolish pillar provoked Director Li? It shouldn't be. If something happens in the steel rolling mill, I can't possibly not know. At this moment, Yi Zhonghai was trying to break his mind, but he didn't really understand where the problem lay. As for director Li Youwei definitely does a complete set of things. With the intervention of the public security, some things don't even need Li Youwei to worry about, okay? Even if I kill Yi Zhonghai, I don't know who the person behind him is. That's the Prime Minister of a country. Someone asked why this title is used, and everyone understands it. If I were to use that book, I might just be confused. I hope you understand. The police officer said, of course, it's okay not to admit it. We already have sufficient evidence on our end. And that Jia Geng, take it with you too. Yes. The two police officers who received orders immediately approached with handcuffs. Bang Ji was so scared that his legs became weak and he sat down on the ground. Lian cried and shouted, it's not me, don't catch me, don't catch me. Woo woo. Grandma. Jia Zhang's head is also too big. Public security comrades. We are willing to compensate, but you cannot take my grandson away. Adhering to the principles of fairness and duty, the police officer said, I'm sorry, the amount is huge. In just one sentence, Jia Zhang was dismissed. Jia Zhang remained firmly in front of the stick stem. The leading police officer said, Comrade, please do not obstruct your official duties. Oh, my dear grandson. Jia Zhang let out a sharp howl. Watching Jia Zhang roll and splash. And several police officers were speechless for a moment. I heard about this courtyard before I came, not normal. Who would have thought it was so abnormal? The thief, the shrew, and a fool who likes widows, willing to take responsibility for others. What kind of immortal courtyard are these? In just a few minutes. This scene has exceeded the recognition of everyone in the courtyard. When did such a thing happen in this courtyard? The feeling is that this group of police officers seems to be coming towards these few people. Key. The public security should not target these few people who cannot even be hit, should they? Did you offend someone? It shouldn't be. Everyone is a bit puzzled. Some people are happy while others are worried. Su Damao, standing in the crowd, was overjoyed. Pointing at Silly Zhu, he burst out laughing a few times and said, so it's to blame Qin Huairu. Silly Zhu, really you? You didn't expect that your own foundation was not clean, did you? Ha ha ha. What's inside here? The only people who can be happy are Li Youwei and Su Damao. Usually, he is often bullied by Silly Pillars. It's not easy to see Silly Pillar eating his food. Silly Zhu gritted his teeth and looked at Su Damao. If possible, Silly Zhu really wants to go over and slap Su Damao. It's really annoying. After feeling proud for a while, Su Damao didn't forget to kick his nose and face, saying, by the way, Comrade Public Security, who should compensate for my chicken? I can't bear to eat such a fat chicken myself. You must make decisions for me. The police frowned and looked at Su Damao. Nodding, well, we, the police, also know about your two chickens. Hey. Su Damao smiled and nodded warmly. I'm even thinking about it in my mind. The public security has already taken action. Can we compensate more now? Just. The letter that appeared the next second directly interrupted all of Su Damao's fantasies. Public security. This is a report letter from Lijia village. Are you threatening the public not to show you movies unless they give you local specialties? They have already reported it to us. Comrade Su Damao, I hereby inform you that you have taken advantage of your position to accept bribes and extort money. Can you also come with us to the Public Security Bureau to assist in the investigation? Oh, the courtyard is peaceful. The air is filled with the sound of cold air being sucked in backwards. When it comes to stick memes, everyone still thinks that things are over. I didn't expect it. Still catching it. The previous thoughts of everyone have also been confirmed. Is there another new policy coming out above? Is there still someone targeting the courtyard house? I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out at all. Su Damao took a step back and said, Comrade Public Security, I am wrongly accused. The police in front of him directly grabbed Su Damao's hand. Can you explain to me how the two chickens came about? My fellow villagers. Watch me play the movie well and force it to me. Hee hee. The police grabbed Su Damao's hand. With a click. The silver bracelet is once again unveiled. As for whether it's true or not, let's go to the Public Security Bureau and explain it to us. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 007. Get the amazing reward. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Alright, take it all away. Yes. Send a command down. 3 people were all escorted by 2 police officers towards the entrance of the courtyard. Not giving a chance to explain it all. As for Li Youwei next to him. He was a transparent person throughout the entire process. Not involved in anything, hiding deep achievements and fame. Compared to caring about the reactions of animals and the subsequent events, Li Youwei still cares more about the system. 3 animals were caught in this one. What rewards will the system give? Comrades from the Public Security Department come and go quickly. A group of people in the courtyard froze in place. The few people who were still standing well just now were taken away in the blink of an eye. This just now, Jia Zhang, who was sitting on the ground crying and howling, was also surprised to see her mouth grow wider. This. Oh my God, he wants the lifeline of our Jia family. Wu Wu. Lu Xiaoa. Grandpa, what's going on? Why did the police directly take it away? Yen Bugui. Who? That was really scary just now. I was too big to take a breath. Qin Huairu walked up to Yi Zhonghai in tears and said, Grandpa, what's going on? What's wrong with our courtyard? Why did my son take him away? Yi Zhonghai stood in place, his face gloomy and terrifying. The brain is even more chaotic. This sudden scene truly caught Yi Zhonghai off guard. And he also wants to know what happened. Originally fine, I had to solve the problem myself, and a group of police officers came. Get it? No matter what, if there is evidence, arrest someone. Yi Zhonghai doesn't know what to say. I'll go call the deaf old lady over. Don't leave, everyone. The big incident in the courtyard has reached a point where Yi Zhonghai is at a loss. Soon. The deaf old lady came out. After Yi Zhonghai explained the whole story clearly, the deaf old lady Gu Jingwu's eyes flashed with some waves. Glancing at everyone. Someone wants to take care of our courtyard, he said. Li Youwei also looked at the deaf old lady in unison. Either they are a 1,000-year-old fox. With meticulous thinking, it was analyzed in just one sentence. After hearing this, Yi Zhonghai patted his thigh and said, yes. Let's not talk about the ones who were arrested. Everyone in our courtyard is here now, right? Who was hiding from us to report to the police? Come forward and admit it yourself. Yi Zhonghai has now returned to its former state. He frowned and looked at everyone with an unhappy expression. Trying to find the person who is against him. If we let his years of hard work go to waste, Yi Zhonghai swears. I will never let it go. Anyone who disrupts their retirement plan will never be lenient. Everyone, look at me, I look at you, all looking bewildered. Yi Zhonghai took a deep breath and said, if you have the courage to do it, you must have the courage to admit it. We are all neighbors. If there are any conflicts, we can just resolve them internally in the courtyard. Why call the police? 3 people were caught all at once, are you satisfied? Li Youwei in the dark chuckled. Satisfied. This is far from satisfactory. Seeing no one admitted, Yi Zhonghai originally wanted to nag a few words. The deaf old lady on one side shook her hand. Alright, now is not the time to find that person. Let's think about what to do first. Right. Yi Zhonghai slapped his head. He is so angry and confused. Now that my elderly have all gone in, if we don't handle it properly, the consequences but my over 10 years of hard work have been wasted. Yi Zhonghai absolutely does not allow such things to happen. The deaf old lady glanced at everyone and said, it's okay not to admit it now. Just don't become the target of public criticism when the time comes. Just offend the whole court. Xiao Yi, Qinhuairu, Jia Zhangshi, Lao Yi, all come to my house, I'll think of a way. Okay. Got it. Yi Zhonghai said, alright, let's go. The meeting is over, let's get busy. Sigh. A few people walked into the deaf old lady's house without distinction. After all, the few who were taken away are all the backbone. It's definitely not possible without finding a solution. That's it. I thought Yi Zhonghai had to go through a lot of trouble finding people. Waste expressions. Roast. Li Youwei lit a cigarette and walked towards his own house. Open the door. Then close it. After looking around and no one noticed, Li Youwei opened the system. A prominent and large claim button appeared in front of Li Youwei. A little bit. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the task. Ding, congratulations to Sue for receiving rewards, including 1 Dalamaru, 1 bag of high-yield rice, and 1 piece of solar energy technology. The front one is fine. Until I saw the reward behind me. Li Youwei's heartbeat accelerated while also swallowing a few mouthfuls of saliva. This reward. It's not bad. These things, in the coming decades, may just be average, even dogs may find them annoying. But what era is it now? After just 3 years of natural disasters, the country is filled with famine everywhere. In order to have a bite, some mountain trees have run out of bark. Throughout the country, countless deaths have been caused by hunger. A bag of high-yield rice seeds is like a rain after a long drought. How many people living in dire straits can be saved? Li Youwei dare not imagine. And this solar energy technology. If nothing unexpected happens, even the current Eagle country has not been studied, right? Not right. It already exists, but the technology is not yet mature and has not been used in the civilian industry. Any one of these two things can greatly improve the current situation in China. I have figured this out clearly. The roasted chicken in front of me is no longer fragrant. Li Youwei just wants to quickly find the Prime Minister and take out the things. Make his elderly family happy as well. After all, the current state of China is really too difficult. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 008. The Prime Minister was stunned. China has found treasure. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. On the other side of the backyard. In a place that Li Youwei didn't notice, several animals gathered together. Jia Zhang cried and said, "My poor little grandson. Woo-woo. Who the hell called the police?" Qinhuairu also had a worried expression on her face. With a worried expression on his face, he said, "Grandpa, stealing a chicken is not a small matter. Stick memes and silly pillars." Yi Zhonghai was annoyed when asked. Until now, he also has a bewildered expression on his face. Yi Zhonghai said, "The public security has intervened, and the punishment is definitely not light. It's easy to deal with the stick meme, after all, it's just a child. But on the side of silly pillar. Nowadays, Yi Zhonghai's greatest concern is still the safety of the silly pillar. He is still waiting for the silly pillar to develop in the future, so that he can take care of himself. For this reason, Yi Zhonghai usually offends people because of silly Zhu's foul mouth. In order to firmly bind the foolish pillar to his side. What more does Yi Zhonghai do? Just like how silly Zhu's father is, the more I think about these, the more annoyed Yi Zhonghai becomes. Do you have any way, old lady? After all, the deaf old lady is old and has seen many of them. It's quite calm. Who called the police about our situation? Let's not mention it yet. So far, let's find a way to rescue the foolish Zhu and his team. I have a way out here. I know both Lao Yi and the leader of the steel rolling mill. You should be able to speak at the Public Security Bureau, but right. Speaking of which, the deaf old lady deliberately paused for a moment. Looking thoughtfully at Lu Xiaowa. The meaning is very clear. Finding someone definitely requires taking care of something. Among all the people present, your Lu Xiaoyi family is the wealthiest. The meaning is very clear. Lu Xiaowa is not a fool either. Okay, I'll prepare some local specialties for the leader on my end, he said directly. The deaf old lady nodded and said, I'll go and see for myself then. There shouldn't be any problem. Her thoughts are also simple. As a household with 5 guarantees, plus the families of martyrs, what I say is affirmative. As for handling matters, it must be up to the big leader. Isn't it just some trivial things? Where can it grow to? These things can be big or small for the deaf old lady to see. She doesn't believe it anymore. Can she really go online? A few people's movements are also fast. Get ready immediately. On the other side, a red line has flickered on the horizon of the capital, and the streets have slowly begun to darken. Only a few faint lights illuminated the 2 measurements on the roadside. The difference from the beautiful nights of later generations is not even a tiny bit. This while walking on the street, one can even feel a bit desolate. This further strengthened Li Youwei's idea of change. Not much. I arrived at the center of the capital city. This time, it should have been the Prime Minister's advance greeting. Upon seeing Li Youwei's arrival, the 2 soldiers walked in directly with him. Arriving at the Prime Minister's doorstep. The lights in the room are still on. Go in, the Prime Minister is still waiting for you. Okay, thank you. Li Youwei walked straight in. After knocking on the door and receiving a response, Li Youwei walked in. Prime Minister. The Prime Minister looked up and saw that Li Youwei had arrived. Excited, he suddenly stood up. Did you receive a reward? What is it? Li Youwei closed the door. Ask, is it considered safe here, Prime Minister? The Prime Minister thought for a moment and nodded seriously. Don't worry, no matter what happens today, there will never be a second person who knows. Get it? That's what Li Youwei and others said. After all, things in the system are too unpredictable. Moreover, in this period, there are indeed many spies. If once exposed, the consequences are unimaginable. Even if Li Youwei has a way to deal with it. But being innocent and causing trouble for oneself is not his personality. Li Youwei closed the door in the past. Sitting opposite the Prime Minister. Then I'll take it out. The Prime Minister nodded with an expectant look and said, Don't be so narrow-minded, you kid. Take it out and show me something. Okay. Li Youwei's mind twitched. A solar light appeared in my hand. Looking at the strange-shaped light in Li Youwei's hand, the Prime Minister said, What is this? Li Youwei explained, solar lights provide sufficient energy at night as long as the solar panel on top is illuminated by the sun during the day. Electric light. Solar-powered. Open it and take a look. Li Youwei nodded and turned on the switch the next second. After a click. The office, which covers an area of over 10 square meters, immediately feels like daylight, with bright white lights shining on every corner of the room. Falling on people is so gentle. Even the Prime Minister, who had seen too many grand scenes, couldn't help but take a cold breath. Allowing the fluorescent lamp to shine on the body, the mouth grew slightly. For a long time. Spit out 2 words, this. This. Just at this moment. There is noise coming from outside the house. Prime Minister, are you okay? Prime Minister, are you okay? A voice of concern and nervousness came, accompanied by a hurried knocking on the door. The 2 soldiers were visibly frightened. They were just standing guard. In the blink of an eye. A beam of light came from the room. Looking again, when did the Prime Minister's house become so bright? They have never seen this scene before except during the day. Who has ever had such bright light at night? Fearing that the Prime Minister may be in danger, he is also very anxious outside in a state of urgency. After being surprised, the Prime Minister hurriedly said, "No, it's okay. Just stand in your position." "Yes. Got it, Prime Minister." Upon hearing the Prime Minister's safe voice, the 2 soldiers stood straight at the door again, indifferent to worldly affairs. The Prime Minister's gaze towards Li Youwei changed at this moment. It's true. Everything is true. Huagua is saved. The people of Huagua are going to have good days. Prime Minister. Li Youwei. You really surprised me. I, as an elderly person, almost couldn't accept such a surprise. What a person of the future. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 009. Becoming the youngest Major General in China. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The Prime Minister looked at Li Youwei and became even more excited as he spoke. I completely believe that you are from the future now. Can you tell me what the future has become? Gu, the Prime Minister has just finished speaking. Li Youwei's stomach on this side let out a very unpleasant cry. Speaking of the main matter. Li Youwei, with a red face, said, "Cough, what?" The Prime Minister asked with concern, "Comrade Li Youwei, you don't know how to come without eating, do you?" Li Youwei nodded in confusion. Without saying a word, the Prime Minister called in the guards and ordered a big meal to be prepared. You must have meat and follow the highest standards. Yes. Got it, Prime Minister. When the 2 guards left, they didn't forget to glance at Li Youwei. Since the outbreak of natural disasters in 3 years, not to mention others, even the Prime Minister himself has insisted on not eating meat for several years. In his words, if the people's lives don't improve, he will resolutely refuse to eat meat. Usually, if an important guest comes, the most upgrade is 2 more white flour mantou. This time a young man who doesn't look big has arrived, yet he has provoked the Prime Minister's hospitality like this. The guard recalled it in his mind. I haven't heard of such a young and important guest before. At this moment, Li Youwei was a bit panicked. The Prime Minister's reaction is really too big. And after seeing that the Prime Minister had calmed down a lot, Li Youwei said weakly, "Prime Minister, I will tell you about the future development later. I haven't finished talking about the reward yet." Ah! The Prime Minister stood up with a jerk. This is already the countless times that Li Youwei has seen the Prime Minister lose his composure. But I can also understand. If a person tells themselves that they come from the future, they can also bring a lot of technology. Li Youwei's reaction may not be much lower than that of the Prime Minister. What else? Li Youwei nodded and said, also. What is it? Li Youwei. High-yield rice varieties. However, the system says it's a high yield, and I'm not quite sure what the specific yield is. We still need to conduct experiments to find out. Hear this answer. The Prime Minister was surprisingly calm this time. What are you saying? High-yield rice. Li Youwei said, yes, but in terms of production. I'm not sure how much higher it can be. The Prime Minister thoughtfully lit a cigarette. Wisps of cigarettes float in the air. Through the smoke, Li Youwei could clearly see that the Prime Minister's eyes were red. Li Youwei. Prime Minister, you. The Prime Minister wiped the corner of his eye and smiled, saying, "It's okay, it's okay. I'm really sorry, I'm a bit excited. I just thought. The people of the whole country should have a good life now. You don't have to suffer anymore." Li Youwei's movements slowed down by half a beat, and his heart was also deeply touched. I truly deserve to be the person I am willing to risk threats to meet. What kind of bad thoughts can one have when constantly worrying about the people? The Prime Minister adjusted his emotions and said, "By the way, can I take a look at something?" "No problem." Li Youwei waved his hand. A bag of rice seeds appeared on the ground. The Prime Minister is like seeing gold. Squat down and open the bag. Hand out some rice seeds. Happy as a child, he said, it's really much bigger than the rice we grow. The common people really want to have a good life. Ha ha ha. Not much. The food was brought over by the guard. The two of them ate while drinking a little. And Li Youwei also openly told the Prime Minister about the great prosperity of future generations. Prime Minister. Can tall buildings really be that high? Oh my goodness. And you also mentioned that cannons can shoot thousands of kilometers, tsk, I can't even think of it. When speaking, the Prime Minister's eyes were filled with longing. Of course. There are still many, many, many. How can we explain them clearly in a moment or two? The two of them were drinking and chatting at the same time. It was not until 12 o'clock that the two of them interrupted the conversation when a guard came over to remind the Prime Minister to rest. If Li Youwei really talks seriously, he probably won't be able to finish it in 3 days and 3 nights. Li Youwei said, "Prime Minister, it's getting late too. I won't disturb you for now." Li Youwei stood up and planned to retire. The Prime Minister waved his hand calmly and said, "Let's talk more, don't worry." He. The Prime Minister said, "By the way, isn't it necessary to catch those people who live with you in the same courtyard for your system to receive rewards?" "Yes, the more arrests you make, the longer you lock them up, and the richer the rewards." The Prime Minister pondered for a moment and nodded, "I understand. Listen to you talk about the courtyard you live in, everyone does have problems. Although there are problems, we definitely cannot arrest people casually without breaking the law. But Comrade Li Youwei, rest assured that I will have the entire public security department cooperate with you." Sigh. Isn't that what Li Youwei thought of? Cooperate with the country and find the handle of the beasts together, then send a few beasts in. It's simply the simplest thing. Li Youwei said, "Thank you, Prime Minister. By the way, Youwei, what is your current job?" "Oh, Red Star Steel Rolling Plant, I took over my father's workstation as a fitter." The Prime Minister touched his chin and said, "Why don't we resign first? Your personal safety now concerns us as a whole, and there must be no accidents in this regard. After you resign, I will give you a position in Hainan, and you don't have to go. Stay in the courtyard with peace of mind, complete tasks, and just take a walk when you have free time." Li Youwei licked his lips. "Don't say it. This is too close to my own ideals. A rare time to travel, right? Why are you still suffering and suffering? Isn't it good to enjoy life with peace of mind and integrate into this prosperous era? I'll be more respectful than obedient, he. Li Youwei agreed directly. The Prime Minister came over and patted Li Youwei's shoulder, saying, "By the way, I have to give you something else. I don't know when." The Prime Minister pulled out a red notebook with a 5-pointed star pattern on it. "Open it and take a look. Li Youwei will take over. Put it in your hand and open the door." There are several large characters prominently written on it. Major General. Li Youwei. This time it's Li Youwei's turn to widen his eyes. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 010. Deaf old lady grasping full trust relationship. You are listening at novel full.audio. Seeing Li Youwei's expression, the Prime Minister smiled and said, "Don't underestimate your low position, after all. I haven't finished speaking yet." Li Youwei interrupted in fear, "Prime Minister, you're joking." "That's it, how dare I despise low. I actually feel a bit too high." This is Li Youwei's heartfelt words. Xinhua has just been established for a short time. The position of Major General, may I ask if it was not achieved through hard work amidst the midst of gunfire and bullets? Moreover, there are still very few. I gave myself such a big position from the beginning. Li Youwei really feels guilty about it. Ha ha ha. The Prime Minister smiled. I patted Li Youwei's shoulder and said, "In my opinion, the value you have shown now is not much lower than mine. It's getting late, I'll have my subordinates take you back. I'm an old bone now, and I need to rest early." "Okay, thank you, Prime Minister." After leaving the door, an old-fashioned red flag car parked right at the entrance. Li Youwei had just stepped out when a middle-aged man got off the car. "Comrade Li Youwei, isn't he? The Prime Minister asked me to take you back." "Li Youwei. Could you please?" Yes. When we reach the courtyard house. It's already late at night." Li Youwei parked the car on one side. "Thank you again, I'm really sorry to trouble you." "I should, then I'll go back first." "Okay." Li Youwei stumbled back to the courtyard because he didn't drink much. I took out the key, opened the door, and returned directly to the room. Use consciousness to extract the powerful pill from the system and swallow it in one gulp. Faint sleep. On the other side. The Prime Minister had originally planned to take a break. However, I am really curious about Li Youwei's things in my heart. I won't talk about solar lights anymore. The most restless thing for the Prime Minister is the rice seed. Unable to sleep. Get it. Get up and carefully take out a seed. First, put it in water to cultivate and sprout. The rest is like a treasure hidden aside. The weather in Beijing is not suitable for growing rice, but it's okay. The Prime Minister has made up his mind. Let's renovate our house tomorrow. Yes. That's right. After tossing and turning and figuring out a solution, the Prime Minister hurriedly fell asleep. How many years have passed, today is the only peaceful dream. In my dream Li Youwei's rice grows taller than a man over 1.8 meters tall until the next day. The beautiful sunrise cuts through the skyline of the capital, shining with a bright red hue. In the courtyard, I don't know whose chicken it was, so it started crowing. After a hangover, Li Youwei woke up under a powerful biological clock. After stretching lazily, he lit a cigarette. Don't say it. I feel very comfortable all over. Li Youwei quickly put on a pair of pants and came to the mirror. Just a glance. Li Youwei was stunned. This. In front of Li Youwei in the mirror, there were sturdy yet understated muscles. Li Youwei, who was already strong, now has a more beautiful figure and lines. The chain reaction in this way is to enhance the overall temperament of the person by more than a little. Of course. Although there hasn't been much change in appearance, it can still be seen that it has become somewhat resilient. Good thing. Li Youwei has completely tasted the sweetness. Sweet treats related to animals. At this moment, Li Youwei is very, very hopeful animals can provoke themselves more. Then do more illegal things. So isn't it possible for this reward to come and make your hands weak? Put on clothes that divide 3 by 5. Li Youwei plans to go to the steel rolling mill again today. Work. What a job. A major general, and there are still positions hanging in the south. Say it again. After the Prime Minister studies those things clearly, the benefits can you lose your own. Wearing a clean Zhongshan suit. Walked out facing the sunrise. The air is sweet. This is not. Just left. Qin Huairu, who was washing up, looked towards Li Youwei. Just a glance. Qin Huairu's seductive eyes were already staring big. Qin Huairu, who was washing her face, grew up with a small mouth and revealed her pure white teeth. This. Li Youwei. Looking back at Li Youwei as he walked by. Qin Huairu's little heart thumped a few times. Li Youwei raised his eyebrows and said, "What's up?" Qin Huairu quickly shook her head and blushed, saying, "No. No. Oh." Li Youwei agreed and walked away directly. Li Youwei, who had walked away, even touched his nose and said, "It's inexplicable." The widow's gaze, if it made Li Youwei look so it's almost wire-drawn, okay. At the thought of Qin Huairu's actions, Li Youwei couldn't help but shudder. This is not a easily provoked person. Li Youwei did not guess wrong. Qin Huairu, with a heart full of spring, stood in place, holding her fingers in her mouth. Looking at the figure of Li Youwei leaving, he murmured, "Why didn't you find Li Youwei so handsome before? Those two arms look so powerful." It doesn't matter if you don't want to, just think it's really brushed. Feel the changes in your body. Qin Huairu hurriedly ran towards the toilet. Backyard. The deaf old lady gathered a lot of people in the morning. Yi Zhonghai, Jia Zhongshi, Lu Xiaoa, and others are all here. Lu Xiaoa handed over her specialties to the deaf old lady. Worried, "Madam, please don't forget our Damao." Deaf old lady. "Don't worry, the leader I'm looking for this time is quite important. Make sure to tell Bang Ji how they left and how they will come back." Okay. Regarding this, the deaf old lady can be said to be full of confidence. Holding something, he went straight onto the street. Found a leader. A retired leader who had known a deaf old lady before. Having known each other for so long, they have indeed helped the deaf old lady a lot this time. The deaf old lady is confident. She not only wants the Public Security Bureau to release people, but also needs to find the person behind the scenes who reported the incident. I will definitely give that kid a good look. Humph. Thinking the deaf old lady walked into a family home. P.S. Today, it's even more explosive on Saturday. Did you vote heavily for some flower reviews? The author guarantees that it will continue to explode tomorrow. Kneel down and beg everyone to be big. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.